either ambiguous or undetermined. May we know under which elements were those findings?
Actually, it covers more or less the, quite a number of elements, right? It covers the legislation, it covers the training, it covers the surveillance of obligations. So more or less across the board too, right? So somehow the findings are related. First you talk about the regulations, then it goes down to the people that exercise the regulations, and these are the technical personnel, right? And when they exercise the regulation, they have to actually rely on the technical guidance, right? So it's related, okay? And how they conduct the surveillance, that's under surveillance obligation. And once we have got the, we determine the finding, then we have to have this resolution of safety concerns. So everything is related. But anybody else want to elaborate? Yeah, Mr. Abra? The Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, or the CAAM, actually regrets to announce that the FAA of the United States has informed CAAM that it is being listed as Category 2 Aviation Regulator as of yesterday. This is as a result of the FAA review of CAAM carried out in April 2019. The audit looked at the 8 elements which constitute an aviation safety oversight system. And these are primary aviation legislations, specific operating regulations, state civil aviation systems and safety oversight functions, technical personnel qualification and training, technical guidance, tools and the provision of safety critical information, licensing, certification, authorization and approval obligations, surveillance obligation, and last, resolution of safety concerns. At the time of the audit in April 2019, the FAA listed its findings, and the CAAM then took immediate and considerable steps to rectify the findings, and these were observed by the FAA. The FAA to address the concerns. Now, we wish to emphasize what was specified in our previous statement. The assessment was only that of CAAM's role as an aviation regulator. This categorization is not an assessment of the airlines or the airport or the air traffic services under the purview of CAAM. However, due to being listed as a Category 2 regulator, airlines licensed by CAAM will not be able to add new routes to and from the United States. CAAM continues to contribute to the development and oversight of aviation via its seats on the ICO Council.
Answers your question. That sounds complicated. Well, let me make it easier. There are certain issues where when a country differs from ICAO legislation, the FAA may have an expectation that we file something called differences. So if there anything that is in our legislation or aviation regs that differ from ICAO legislation, one authority may say, well, actually, you need to file differences over an issue. But our reading of the ICAO ICAO documents is that we don't need to file differences. So this is it's not like I said, because it's rather complex. It's a rather complex ecosystem. It's not like as if we're going to agree on everything. However, having said that, we have taken the FAA's feedback constructively, and we do think that they've given us relevant feedback, and we will make changes and improvements to that feedback. I think that's the key issue. So the ambiguity is over certain issues, but the key thing is that there has been feedback, we're taking it constructively, and we will be making changes.
Captain?
We'll leave that between the Minister of Transport to inform the Cabinet and the Prime Minister.
Arjuna, from the edge here, you
Yes,
mentioned
sir.
in your statement yesterday that there were shortcomings. Can
Yes.
you elaborate in more detail what those shortcomings are?
Sure. So maybe I'll go through a little, maybe I'll just walk through the audit process if that's okay with my fellow board members. So what happens is that the FAA gives a list of questions, right? And the list of questions, and they give that beforehand. Now, they sent us quite short notice that they were going to perform this audit. It's not an excuse, but a fact. And they sent us a list of questions to answer. And we answered questions. I believe there were roughly 300 questions that were asked. And this is on various parts of our legislation. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Does the flight operation inspector, a pilot who works for CAAM that reports to our director of flight planning or flight operations, Captain Jani, does this particular inspector hold a particular rating in order to understand something called electronic flight bags? I'm not trying to get geeky on you. I just want to go into detail so you understand where it is. This inspector was found that perhaps his ability to, an electronic flight bag is a fancy iPad that pilots keep in their cockpit in order to monitor different parameters of non-critical actions of a flight. And if this inspector is found, for example, or this inspector was found, or inadequate inspectors were found to hold this rating, but yet one of our airlines has operating electronic flight bags, that's seen as an audit finding.
Penurunan taraf ni suatu yang serius ataupun biasa-biasa saja?
Right. Let me respond in English on this one, because just for the benefit of our friends from the global wires. Of course, it's serious. But in the end, that's serious. Whenever there is an audit and whenever there is an assessment by a peer regulator, and whenever there are findings that they may feel are unsatisfactory, whether or not it is soulless or whether or not it is unilaterally, we do take this issue seriously. But I want to explain what the audit is about. Dan dengan izin, please allow me to give you an analogy. What was audited is not the airlines, are not the air traffic control services, and are not our airports. What was audited was CAAM, the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia. And what was found by the FAA is that their belief is that they do not believe that CAAM should be categorized in their own mind as a Category 1 regulator. But there's absolutely no effect, or there's absolutely no assessment on our airlines, and we have to make that very clear. This is CAAM's deficiency, CAAM's shortcoming. It is our failure, not the airlines. And it's very important to add on that level, bagi analogy, the analogy is as follows. You can have a school, the school has teachers, the teachers have students. And in this analogy, the airlines are the students. The students, our airlines are operated extremely well. They are at or beyond international standards, and I think that's a well-known fact. So the students are scoring well in the exams. The